Hello friends, how are you all? Welcome to our CSS training session. Today we will discuss another powerful feature of CSS attribute selectors. These selectors allow you to apply styling based on an element's attribute without the need for extra classes. So let's begin today's session. First, let's talk about the type attribute selector. This selector targets elements that have a specific attribute regardless of its value. Let me show you an example here. I have an explain where we have data info value 1 and data info value 2 attributes. Additionally, there's another span elements without a data info attribute. Now let's focus on three things here. These three lines represents element with or without the data info attribute. You can see how we can select element based on data info attribute. Let's write some CSS. For this example, we can set the border to 2 pixel solid blue and 5 pixel padding. This style will apply to all elements with the data info attribute, regardless of the value it holds. Let me explain further with another example. Suppose I have a few anchor tags. I'll take three anchor elements and apply some CSS. For instance, I define a display property to set a to block so that the anchor appears on a new line. Then I add a margin set to 10 pixel, which create a margin of 10 pixel around each anchor. Now let's take this a step further. Suppose I assign the target blank attribute to one element and target blank to another. I want to style the first link without using a class or ID. Using the attribute selector, I can target it directly. In the CSS, I'll write a style for target blank and define properties like border 2 pixels solid blue and padding 5 pixel. Additionally, I'll set the background color to red. Once applied, you will see that only the first anchor with target blank gets style as expected. This demonstrates how you can use CSS attribute selector effectively to style elements without relying on additional class or IDs. Now let's talk about the attribute equal to value selector. In this case, you can apply styling based on the specific value of a specific attribute. For example, if you want to style an input element with the type button, you can apply it in this way. See here as given in the example, the type button attribute is used. You have two input elements, one is type button and the other is type text. If I copy this example, as you can see here, type button has been used. Here along with the attribute, the value has also been defined and selected. The background color has been set to green, the text color to white, padding to 10 pixel and the border to none. Now look at the button, it is styled as expected. If I want to apply it to the input with the type text, I simply change the value from button to text. Now you can see how it is applied to the text input. Look here, the styling is applied to the input box that is visible, confirming that the attribute selector works as intended. Now coming to the attribute equal to value selector, what does this do? It targets elements based on a specific attribute and value. For example, if there are two classes and we want to style element with a specific class value, including spaces in the value, this selector can handle it. Let me show you an example here. I have taken a class attribute and assigned the value text highlight. Now the class attribute is selected. and it specifically targets the high life value. Here I have defined the background color, padding as 5 pixel and a border. If you notice, if I don't specify the exact value, it won't target the element. For instance, if I omit a space or part of the value, the styling will not apply. This is because the space in the value high life is significant. To handle this, we can use the field selector to apply style to a specific part of the value. For example, if there are two classes, highlight and important, and I want to apply styling only to important, I can use the specific attribute value selector for important. I can define a color for it and it will apply the style. Now when I want to highlight only specific element and apply the style to a single value, I will use the appropriate selector. This selector starts from a specific value. For example, if your ID values start with item, you can apply a style to them without affecting other elements. Here you can see an example, the ID is taken and the caret is used to specify that the value starts with item. If an ID starts with item as shown here, the style will be applied only to element whose ID value begin with item. For example, if you have a class or an ID like product and assign a value to it, the style will also apply to it. Let me show you an example. I have added the following IDs inside the body: item 0, item 20 and item product 21. Now the style will only be applied to the ID starting with the item. Using this method, we can target a specific element on a page. If you want to apply the style to all elements ending with .media, you can use the $= selector. Here's what I will do. I'll copy this example. As you can see it, the style will target only the elements that match the specific criteria. Here the $sign in the style selector means it targets the last part of the value. Let me show you an example. The color is set to green and the text decoration is set to underline. If I change the text decoration, it will apply to the selected elements. For example, if you take three anchor elements with the following values: document1.com, document.s and document.3 generation, we use the $= selector to target elements ending with .generation. By applying this style, the color green and underline decoration will only apply to the third anchor. You can see the output in the downloaded where the color of .generation has turned green and the underlined is visible. Now if I want to apply the style to elements ending with .docs, I just change the value in the selector to .docs. The style will apply to the elements ending with .docs. Similarly, if I want to apply the style to elements ending with OCX, I can use the $= selector and the style will apply as long as the value ends with OCX. If the value doesn't end with OCX, the style won't apply. In this way, we can use attribute selector like $= to target element based on the ending of their attribute values. Finally, let's discuss the into selector, which is used to target elements containing a specific value in their attributes. For example, if you want to target elements with a title containing the word info, the style will apply to any element where info appears in the little attribute. Let me show you an example. If info appears in the first title attribute, the style, background color and padding will apply to that element. However, if the value doesn't contain info, the style will not apply. If you use the into of selector with a single letter such as A, the style will apply to all attribute where A appears in the value. For instance, if A appears in both information and data, the style will both to this is the flexibility offered by the into is equal to selector. They allow you to style elements based on specific attribute values without ending classes or IDs. This makes styling cleaner and more efficient. So friends, these attribute selector give you great flexibility. You can easily create and subscribe to styles without using classes. If you have any question, feel free to ask in the comments. Keep smiling and happy coding. Thank you.